My phone buzzed on the nightstand with the fury of 1,000 angry bees. 6 a.m., Saturday. My one sacred day to sleep past the crack of dawn. A day usually reserved for questionable breakfast choices and avoiding adult responsibilities. I groaned, fumbling for the offending device. The caller ID flashed. Marco's Master Movers, dispatch. That was Janine, my unflappable, seen-it-all dispatcher. If she was calling me this early on a Saturday, it wasn't to discuss the weather. "It's my day off, Janine, for crying out loud," I mumbled into the phone, my voice thick with sleep. "This better be good, like Elvis has been found alive and needs a tow from Graceland good." Janine's voice, usually a calm oasis in the daily chaos of my towing business, sounded grim. "Marco, you need to see this. Like, right now. 4 slashed tires, your street. Looks like Miss Peterson's car. You know, Elara, the sweet deaf lady who moved into the old Henderson place a few months back." My blood ran cold, all traces of sleepiness vanishing. Elara. She was a lovely woman, probably in her 60s, with kind eyes and a garden that was already starting to look like something out of a magazine. And deaf since childhood, which meant she communicated mainly through gestures, a little notepad, and the brightest, most genuine smiles you'd ever see. I threw on the nearest pair of jeans and a t-shirt, muttering a string of curses that would make a sailor blush. My gut was already churning with a sick certainty. I didn't even need to ask who might do something so vile in our generally quiet, if occasionally HOA-oppressed neighborhood. I walked the half-block down to Elara's place. The sight was infuriating. Her little blue Subaru, always so neatly parked, was listing sadly to one side, all 4 tires definitively, aggressively flat. The faint hissing sound of the last bits of air escaping was like a soundtrack to pure malice. Elara was standing beside it, her hands clasped tightly in front of her, her face a mask of disbelief and heartbreak. This wasn't some random act of teenage vandalism. This was targeted. This was mean. "Son of a..." I bit back the rest. This had Agnes Periwinkle written all over it in her stupid, frilly cursive of pure, unadulterated evil. I pulled out my phone, my thumbs flying across the keyboard. "Elara, I am so sorry. This is awful. I'm Marco, your neighbor down the street. Do you have any idea who would do this?" I held the phone out for her to read. She looked up, her eyes wide and moist. She took the phone, her hands trembling slightly as she typed back. "Marco, yes, hello. Thank you for stopping. I don't know. I just found it like this. Everyone's been so nice since I moved in. Except..." She hesitated, then continued typing. "Except Mrs. Periwinkle from the Homeowners Association. She keeps leaving. Notes." My blood, already simmering, hit a rolling boil. "Agnes." Of course it was Agnes, our neighborhood's self-appointed guardian of arbitrary rules and petty grievances. I knew Elara was meticulous, quiet, the kind of neighbor you'd dream of having. This tire-slashing business was pure HOA Karen spite, cranked up to 11. Elara, her face etched with distress, unlocked her front door and gestured for me to wait. She returned a moment later with a small stack of crisply folded pieces of paper official HOA letterhead, naturally. The notes from Agnes. I read them, my fury mounting with each passive-aggressive, officious line. "Dear Miss Peterson," one began, "it has come to the attention of the HOA board that your wind chimes, while perhaps aesthetically pleasing to some, are creating an environment of auditory disharmony for other residents. Please remove them within 48 hours to avoid further action." Elara, who couldn't hear the wind chimes but loved the way the sunlight glinted off the polished metal, had apparently already taken them down. Another one. "Your collection of garden gnomes, species, Dinomus hortulanus varius, has been observed to exceed the community's approved limit of one whimsical lawn ornament per designated flower bed. Your current count of 3 is in direct violation of Covenant 12, Section 4, Addendum Q. Please rectify this egregious ornamental imbalance forthwith. 3 small, tasteful gnomes, tucked amongst her beautiful roses. Egregious. Right. And the kicker. Your vehicle, a blue Subaru bearing license plate XYZ 123, was observed parked with its left front tire encroaching approximately 1.75 inches over the designated driveway boundary line on Tuesday, May 2nd at 14:37 hours. Photographic evidence is on file. A warning is hereby issued. Repeat infractions will result in penalties as outlined in the HOA Parking and Vehicular Conduct Manual, page 17. I remembered that one. Pop, my grandpa, used to say some folks would complain if you hung them with a new rope. Agnes Periwinkle would complain if the rope wasn't the HOA-approved shade of beige, and if you didn't file the intent to hang form in triplicate at least 2 weeks in advance. Agnes had been a thorn in the side of this neighborhood, a festering carbuncle on the backside of community spirit, ever since she'd somehow strong-armed her way into the HOA presidency 5 years ago. My own towing company, Marco's Master Movers Your Friend on the Road, had even had the distinct displeasure of towing her car once. It was about 3 years back. She'd parked her oversized SUV squarely in front of a fire hydrant while engaging in a spirited, one-sided debate with a mailman about the unapproved and frankly rebellious shade of blue of the USPS collection box at the end of our street. She hadn't recognized me then. I was just another cog in the service industry wheel she undoubtedly despised, the guy in the greasy overalls hooking up her precious land yacht. I distinctly remembered her screeching about her rights, her connections, and threatening to have my incompetent driver, me in that instance, fired. Good times. I helped Alara call the police. Since she was deaf, I used the relay service on my phone, explaining the situation clearly and concisely, emphasizing the targeted nature of the vandalism and my neighbor's vulnerability. I then texted 911 with the address and case details to ensure a written record. I assured Alara, through typed notes on my phone, that I'd take care of getting her car towed to a reputable tire shop. She looked so lost and vulnerable, it made my heart ache. Once the call was logged, I stepped away and dialed my dispatcher, Janine. Janine, it's Alara Peterson, 121 Oak Street, 4 flats, looks deliberate. Get a police report number once they're done with her, and listen very carefully. If a certain Mrs. Agnes Periwinkle from that same neighborhood calls for a tow anytime soon, any reason at all, I want you to put it straight through to my cell, okay? Priority 1. Top of the list. Red alert. Janine, who had fielded calls from Agnes before and knew her particular brand of charm, let out a low whistle. Agnes? Oh boy. What's she done now? Wait, don't tell me. You think she did this to that sweet lady? Let's just say my towing spidey sense is tingling, Janine, I said, my voice grim. And it's smelling distinctly like cheap rosewater perfume, industrial-strength hairspray, and pure, unadulterated spite. 2 of our town's finest rolled up shortly thereafter. Officer Chen, young, sharp, and by the book, and Officer O'Malley, older, with a weary look that suggested he'd seen enough neighborhood drama to fill a 10-season reality TV show. They were incredibly patient with Alara, using a notepad and pen to communicate, with me stepping in occasionally to clarify or provide context via my phone's notes app. Alara, though clearly shaken, was calm and articulate in her written responses, explaining she had no known enemies and couldn't imagine why anyone would do such a thing. Just as Officer Chen was meticulously photographing the slashed tires, Agnes Periwinkle materialized. It was like she had a 6th sense for drama, or possibly a dedicated drama-seeking drone. She was clad in a pristine baby pink velour tracksuit, walking, or rather being dragged by her yappy, over-accessorized miniature poodle, which, in a stroke of profound irony, was named Serenity. Agnes feigned shock and oozed a level of sympathy that would have made a crocodile blush. "Oh, my dear Elara," she exclaimed, her voice dripping with saccharine insincerity that made my teeth ache. "What on earth has happened here? This is simply dreadful. In our beautiful, safe neighborhood. Are you quite all right, dear?" She patted Elara's arm with a claw-like hand, her eyes darting around like a squirrel assessing a nut hoard. Elara, bless her polite heart, just gave a small, sad smile and wrote on the notepad for Officer Chen. "I don't know what happened. I just found it like this when I came out." Agnes, however, turned her attention to Officer O'Malley, her expression shifting to one of grave, civic-minded concern. "You know, officer," she began, her voice conspiratorial, "while this is a terrible, terrible incident, one has to consider all possibilities. Some people in this community, unfortunately, have had ongoing issues with, let's say, inconsiderate parking from this particular vehicle. And of course, proper vehicle maintenance is so very important for the overall aesthetic and, indeed, the property values of our community. Unkempt vehicles can be such a blight, can't they? Not that I'm suggesting anything specific, of course. Just an observation from a concerned resident and your HOA president." I felt my fists clench. "Inconsiderate parking, Agnes?" I interjected, my voice dangerously low. She was perfectly within her designated driveway lines, as she always is, and her car is immaculate, unlike some people's interpretations of HOA bylaws, which seem to get more deranged by the day. Officer O'Malley, to his credit, fixed Agnes with a deadpan stare. "So, you're saying, ma'am, that poor vehicle maintenance or slightly askew parking now causes spontaneous, simultaneous, quadruple tire slashing? That's a new one on me, and I've been doing this for 22 years. Agnes sniffed indignantly. "I am merely pointing out, officer, that sometimes people, inadvertently, bring these unfortunate situations upon themselves through a lack of consideration for community standards." She then, incredibly, made a comment about Elara perhaps having antagonized someone unknowingly, and that people can be so sensitive these days about their personal space and property lines. The audacity was breathtaking. She was practically confessing while trying to sound like a concerned citizen. After the police took their initial reports and left, promising to increase patrols, I lingered, helping Elara make arrangements. Just as I was about to leave, Mr. Henderson from across the street, a timid man who Agnes had once fined for having unapproved autumnal-themed welcome mat in April, scurried over, looking even more nervous than usual. Marco, he whispered, glancing furtively towards Agnes's house, where she was now performatively pruning her already perfect rose bushes. I didn't want to say anything with her around, or even the police, but I saw Mrs. Periwinkle. Very early this morning. Before sunrise, it was still dark. She was near Elara's car. She had something small and dark in her hand. I couldn't see exactly what she was doing. I got a real bad feeling about it, Marco. Don't tell her I said anything, please. She'll make my life a misery with those bylaws. Thanks, Mr. Henderson, I said, clapping him on the shoulder. You did the right thing telling me. I appreciate it. And don't worry, this stays between us. This was good. A witness, albeit a reluctant one. Then another thought struck me. Elara had mentioned to me last week, beaming with pride, that her son had insisted on getting her a new security system after a minor break-in a few towns over had spooked him. Secure Living Solutions, run by a guy named Dave, a buddy of mine whose kid played on the same little league team as my nephew. I pulled out my phone. Dave, it's Marco Romano. Quick question. You guys put in a security system for Alara Peterson over on Oak Street recently, right? Her son arranged it? Marco, hey, yeah, we did, just last Tuesday. Dave's cheerful voice came through. Nice lady. Why, what's up? Long story, but her car got vandalized this morning. All 4 tires slashed. Any chance her front camera, the one covering the driveway, might have caught anything around, say, between 4 and 5 a.m. today? Ouch, that's rough, Dave said. Let me check the cloud footage for her account right now. Hang on a sec. Okay, scrolling back. 4:30 a.m. 4:35. Bingo. Got a figure. Looks like they're wearing a dark hoodie pulled up. Can't see a face clearly from this angle, but they're definitely kneeling by each tire. Smallish build. Looks like they're holding something small and sharp. Timestamp is 4:37 a.m. Clear as day, well, as clear as pre-dawn infrared gets. Can you download that clip and send it to me, Dave? I asked, a grim satisfaction spreading through me. And maybe a copy for Officer O'Malley at the precinct. I think he'd be very interested. Consider it done, Marco. Anything for a neighbor. And anything to stick it to an HOA, Karen, if my spidey senses are correct about who you suspect. Later that day, back at my office, I idly thumbed through our recent tow call records, more out of habit than anything. And there it was. Agnes Periwinkle, 117 Oak Street. Vehicle, Lexus RX 350 Pearl White. Call date, 2 weeks ago, April 23rd. Reason for tow. Illegal park in designated guest spot. Vehicle owner, Mr. Abernathy, 119 Oak. Requested immediate tow due to repeat offense. I remembered that call now. Mr. Abernathy had finally snapped after Agnes kept using his guest spot for her overflow poodle pampering supplies deliveries. My lead driver, Big Tony, had handled that one. His notes in the system were concise and illuminating. Customer, Agnes P., extremely hostile upon arrival. Threatened to have my job. Demanded HOA president discount. Denied. Insisted on riding in cab. Complained about music selection. Classic rock. Questioned integrity of toe straps. Generally unpleasant. Yeah, she definitely knew my company. She may not have connected my face from 3 years ago with the owner, but she knew Marco's master movers. And she knew our trucks. This was getting better and better. Ilara was, understandably, distraught about her car. Not only was it her primary mode of transportation, but she had an important doctor's appointment scheduled for Monday morning, one she'd waited months for. The thought of navigating public transport, especially with her hearing impairment, was overwhelming for her. That's when the glimmer of a truly beautiful, perfectly legal, and utterly satisfying plan began to form in my mind. I texted Ilara. Don't you worry about a thing, Ilara. I'll have one of my trucks pick up your Subaru right now. Take it over to Henderson's tire barn. They're good people, honest. And they'll get you sorted out ASAP. And don't even think about the cost. This one's on the house. Neighborly service, okay? Her reply was instantaneous, full of grateful emojis that made me smile. Oh, Marco, thank you. You are truly too kind. I don't know what I would do. Next, I called Big Tony, my lead driver. Tony was a mountain of a man, built like a friendly grizzly bear, with a heart of gold, a surprisingly gentle touch with even the most mangled vehicles, and a wicked sense of humor that had gotten us through many a long night on the road. Tony, my man, I said. I need you to personally handle a pickup over on Oak Street, number 121. Little blue Subaru, 4 flats. It's for Ilara Peterson. I want you to treat her and her car like they're made of spun glass and unicorn dreams, you got me? Take it straight over to Henderson's tire barn on Elm. Tell Jimmy Henderson to put it on the Marco's Master Movers Company account. Top priority. Got it, boss, Tony rumbled. Anything else? You sound like you got that scheming glint in your voice. The one you get before you convince me to tow something out of a swamp at 3 a.m.? I chuckled. You know me too well, my friend. Yeah, there is one more thing. A big thing. I need you to keep your ears open. Our mutual acquaintance, a certain Mrs. Agnes Periwinkle from that same neighborhood, might be in need of our services in the near future. If a call comes in from her, for any reason whatsoever, I want to know about it immediately. And if humanly possible, I want us to be the ones who handle that call. And Tony? I paused for dramatic effect. Make sure you use truck number 7. The one with the brand new, extra-large, impossible-to-miss Marco's Master Movers logo all over the sides and the back. The one she can't possibly fail to notice. Tony let out a booming laugh that probably rattled the windows in his cab. Consider it done, Marco. Operation Periwinkle's predicament is officially a go. This is going to be good. I can feel it in my lug nuts. The bait was set. Now all we had to do was wait for the universe, or Agnes's inevitably bad karma, to do its thing. A few days passed. Life, as it tends to do, rolled on. Elara's Subaru was back in her driveway, sporting 4 brand-new, top-of-the-line, all-season radials, courtesy of Marco's Master Movers Good Neighbor Initiative, a program I'd just invented. She'd been so grateful she'd baked me an apple pie that was, no exaggeration, a culinary masterpiece. I almost felt guilty about the elaborate Rube Goldberg-esque trap I was patiently waiting to spring. Almost. Then, on a dreary, drizzly Wednesday afternoon, just as I was wrestling with a particularly stubborn batch of quarterly tax forms, Janine's voice crackled over my office intercom. Marco, you are not going to believe this. Or maybe you will. It's our favorite HOA president, Agnes Periwinkle. My pen froze mid-signature. She's stranded. Corner of Maple and 3rd, right by that perpetually flooded underpass. Says her car just died. Completely kaput. And get this. Janine paused, and I could hear the suppressed laughter in her voice. She specifically asked Janine, her exact words were, "Is Marco's Master Movers available? I've heard you people are remarkably prompt, and that other towing company I just called had an exceptionally rude dispatcher and a hold time that was simply barbaric." The irony was so thick, so rich, so utterly delicious, I could have spread it on toast and called it breakfast. Prompt, were we? After her previous delightful interaction with Big Tony? This was too good to be true. My plan, which had been simmering on the back burner of my mind, clicked into high gear. "Prompt, are we, Janine?" I said, fighting to keep the triumphant glee out of my voice. "Well, isn't that just lovely to hear? Tell Mrs. Periwinkle that yes, we can certainly have a truck out there for her, but due to, unexpectedly high call volume in this inclement weather, it might be. Oh, let's say a good 45 minutes to an hour. We wouldn't want to rush and compromise our renowned standards of service, would we?" "Playing hard to get, boss," Janine snickered. "Just building anticipation, Janine. Character development for our dear Agnes. Now here's the crucial part. Assign it to Big Tony. Make sure he takes truck number 7, the one with the Jumbotron-sized logos. And tell him, I think I'll ride along for this one. Just to, ensure premium customer service and satisfaction for a valued HOA president and pillar of our community." Janine was practically howling with laughter now. "Valued, huh? Pillar of the community? Right. Okay, Marco, sending Tony your way. Have fun, you magnificent bastard, and try not to enjoy it too much." "Oh, I wouldn't enjoy it too much. I'd enjoy it exactly the right amount." Big Tony, bless his oversized heart, was grinning like a Cheshire cat when he pulled truck #7 up to my office. "Operation Periwinkle's Predicament Phase 2 is a go, boss," he boomed, giving me a high five that nearly sent my shoulder into early retirement. We arrived at the corner of Maple and 3rd. And there she was, Agnes Periwinkle, looking like a drowned, furious chihuahua, standing beside her late-model pearl-white Lexus sedan. The car was nosed into the curb at an awkward angle, clearly deceased. She was attempting to shield her meticulously coiffed, and now rapidly deflating hair from the persistent drizzle, with a tiny leopard print umbrella that was clearly losing the battle. She did not look happy. This was going to be even better than I'd imagined. Big Tony, ever the professional, got out first, his massive frame exuding an air of calm capability. Agnes, who was in the middle of an agitated phone call, probably to her lawyer, her stylist, or the mayor demanding immediate intervention, snapped her phone shut and turned on him. She didn't recognize Marco me in the passenger seat yet. I'd pulled my company cap low and put on a pair of sunglasses, despite the dreary weather. Method acting, you know. "Finally!" Agnes shrieked, her voice somehow cutting through the sound of the rain and passing traffic. "Do you have any idea how long I've been waiting out here in this deluge? This is utterly unacceptable. My vehicle, a top-of-the-line Lexus, has ceased to function. I have a very important HOA Finance Committee emergency budget meeting to get to, and you people have taken your sweet, sweet time." Big Tony, to his credit, didn't even blink. "Yes, ma'am. Apologies for the delay. Just need to get some preliminary information for the paperwork, and we'll get you hooked up and out of this nasty weather as quickly as possible." He pulled out his digital tablet, his face a mask of bland, professional courtesy. As Tony began his methodical assessment of the Lexus, checking the position, noting the make and model with slow deliberation, I casually opened my passenger door and stepped out. "Afternoon, Mrs. Periwinkle," I said, my voice deliberately pleasant, a friendly neighborhood tow truck company owner just checking in. "Having a bit of car trouble, are we?" Agnes looked up, clearly annoyed at another interruption to her important schedule of being inconvenienced. Her eyes, already narrowed in irritation, met mine. For a split second, there was nothing. Then, a flicker of something. Confusion? Vague recognition? She glanced from my face to the prominent, impossible to miss, Marco's Master Movers, your friend on the road, logo emblazoned on the chest of my company jacket. Then her gaze drifted to the identical, absolutely massive logo plastered across the side of truck #7, the truck currently being prepped to spirit away her precious Lexus. The color, what little of it the rain hadn't already washed away, drained from her face. The leopard print umbrella wobbled precariously in her grip. "Mr. Romano?" she stammered, her voice suddenly several octaves smaller, a mere squeak compared to her earlier foghorn pronouncements. "Marco, is this your towing company?" I gave her my most winning, customer service-oriented smile. The kind of smile that says, "Yes, ma'am, I am here to help. And also, your chickens have well and truly come home to roost, and they're about to present you with a very large itemized bill." "That it is, Mrs. Periwinkle," I said, my tone still a model of cheerful professionalism. "Marco's Master Movers, at your service. Looks like you've got yourself a bit of a predicament here, but don't you worry your pretty little head about it. We'll take good care of you. It's company policy, you see." Oh, the by-the-book inconvenience was about to begin, and it was going to be a masterpiece. "Now, Agnes," I continued, adopting a tone of grave concern. "Standard procedure for a non-starter in this particular zone, especially during inclement weather conditions such as these, requires a full vehicle safety assessment prior to hookup. Tony, my friend, you'd better get under there and meticulously check the undercarriage for any, shall we say, entanglements or potential hazards. We wouldn't want any surprises on the road, would we?" This, of course, involved Big Tony, with exaggerated care and a powerful flashlight, spending a good 10 minutes meticulously peering under her Lexus from every conceivable angle, occasionally muttering things like, "Interesting fluid drip pattern here, boss," and "That exhaust bracket looks a tad questionable." Agnes was practically vibrating with impatience. "Can't you just hook the wretched thing up and go?" I'm getting absolutely soaked to the bone, and my hair is ruined." "Safety first, Agnes. Safety first," I chirped, pulling out a large multi-page clipboard. "Wouldn't want to violate any industry regulations, now would we? Then, of course, there's the pre-tow condition checklist, Form 37B, Revised Edition. We have to thoroughly document all existing scratches, dings, dents, and minor imperfections, for your protection and ours, naturally." I handed her the clipboard and a cheap ballpoint pen that I knew had a tendency to skip. "If you could just read through that carefully and sign or initial all the highlighted areas, that would be super." The form was, by my conservative estimate, approximately 7 pages long and written in dense, impenetrable legalese that I'd had my cousin Vinny the paralegal draw up specifically for special customers. While Agnes was squinting at page 1, probably trying to decipher the clause about acts of God, pigeons, or rogue shopping carts, I made a show of consulting my own tablet. "Oh dear," I said, clicking my tongue sympathetically. "It seems, according to our networked insurance parameters for your specific vehicle make and model with this particular engine failure diagnostic code, which Tony will determine in a moment after the pre-tow fluid level analysis, that Henderson's Tire Barn, while excellent for, tires, isn't actually on your approved preferred provider list for this type of complex engine work. So it looks like we'll have to transport your vehicle to... Let me see. Yes. County Line Auto Specialists. They're top-notch. Bit of a longer haul than Henderson's, I'm afraid, right out near the county border. Mileage charges will, of course, apply, as per standard company policy. It's all in the fine print there. Agnes, page 5, I believe." Agnes looked like she was about to either spontaneously combust or burst into tears, possibly both. Her tiny umbrella had given up the ghost and flopped sadly over her head. Her meticulously applied makeup was starting to run in rivulets down her face. She looked deflated. Beautifully, gloriously deflated. The hookup itself was a masterclass in slow, deliberate precision. Big Tony, following my discreetly signaled instructions, treated Agnes's Lexus like it was a Fabergé egg balanced on a unicycle. Every strap was checked, double-checked, then triple-checked for optimal tension and vehicular security. Each movement was agonizingly slow. "Can't be too careful with these luxury imports, boss," Tony would rumble. "Delicate electronics, you know." Agnes, defeated and dripping, was informed that due to company liability policy regarding unaccompanied high-value vehicles in transit, especially those with undetermined mechanical failures, she would be required to ride in the cab of the tow truck with us to the repair facility. For security and insurance verification purposes, of course, Mrs. Periwinkle, I explained, with my most reassuring professional smile. The ride-in truck hash 7 to County Line Auto Specialists was, I imagine, the longest 37.8 miles of Agnes Periwinkle's life. Big Tony, bless his mischievous soul, decided that the theme for this particular journey would be an obscure German polka station he'd found on the satellite radio. It featured a lot of enthusiastic yodeling and tuba solos. He claimed it soothed the vehicle's stressed transmission. I, for my part, made pleasant, relentless small talk about the importance of community spirit, the joys of good neighborliness, the surprising durability of certain brands of tire rubber, and the legal ramifications of vandalism. Agnes sat rigidly between us, silent as a tomb, her face a mask of thunderous fury and damp misery. I may have hummed along to a particularly oompa-heavy polka at one point. We finally arrived at County Line Auto Specialists, just as old Earl, the grizzled owner-mechanic, who owed me a couple of sizable favors for after-hours tows I'd done for his own breakdown-prone customers, was thinking about closing up. He peered at Agnes's Lexus with a deeply critical expression, sucking air through his teeth. Earl grunted, after a cursory glance under the hood. Yep, that's a thing, all right. Looks like a big job. Might need to keep her a few days just for diagnostics. These newfangled computer brains, you know. And then parts, probably special order from Timbuktu, knowing these fancy imports. He winked at me over Agnes's fuming head. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. The presentation of the bill. I handed it to Agnes with a flourish. It was a thing of beauty, a symphony of itemized charges, each one perfectly legal, each one adhering to the standard industry rates that were clearly posted on our website, and which I, as the owner, had a certain latitude in interpreting for complex recovery situations. Emergency after-hours call-out fee. Inclement weather, Category 2. Standard points. Inclement weather on-scene surcharge, prolonged exposure protocol, standard. Extended pre-hookup vehicle safety assessment and undercarriage integrity, check fee, level 3, comprehensive. Standard. Multi-point pre-tow condition documentation and photographic record fee. Form 37B, revised 7 pages. Standard. Mileage to certified and approved extended network repair facility. 37.8 miles at $7.50 per mile. A slight premium due to the specialized handling requirements of luxury vehicles, naturally. Difficult weather condition hookup and securement surcharge, high wind rain factor, standard. After-hours repair facility drop-off coordination and intake processing fee, standard. Customer emotional support surcharge, waived as a courtesy. I'd almost put that one on, but decided it might be overkill. Almost. The grand total was, to put it mildly, eye-watering. Enough to make a grown accountant weep. Agnes stared at the figure at the bottom of the page, her jaw working silently for a moment before she finally managed to gasp out, This is outrageous. This is highway robbery. This is more than my monthly mortgage payment. All perfectly standard charges, Mrs. Periwinkle, I said, my voice a soothing balm of corporate policy. Clearly listed on our rate sheet, which, if you recall, you signed and initialed on page 3 of Form 37B before we commenced services. We pride ourselves on our complete transparency here at Marco's Master Movers. We do, however, offer a convenient multi-payment installment plan, though there is a small, one-time administrative processing and financing fee for that particular service. Her shriek of outrage was music to my ears, polka-infused, revenge-flavored music. Agnes, sputtering and threatening lawsuits, eventually had no choice but to pay via credit card, the transaction echoing like a death knell in the quiet garage. Her precious Lexus was officially impounded by Earl, pending diagnostic evaluation and parts acquisition from a specialized international supplier. I had a feeling those parts might take a very, very long time to arrive. The aftermath for Agnes Periwinkle was swift and, from my perspective, deeply satisfying. Her car remained in the shop for the better part of 2 weeks. She was seen, on multiple occasions, looking utterly miserable and out of place at the local bus stop, her designer tracksuit clashing horribly with the gritty reality of public transportation. The HOA board, already armed with Officer O'Malley's thorough police report on the tire slashing, bolstered by Dave's crystal-clear security footage and Mr. Henderson's now emboldened eyewitness statement, convened an emergency meeting. When news of her difficult customer incident with my company, a local business owned by a well-liked resident, also came to light, her position became utterly untenable. Faced with a vote of no confidence and the threat of being sued by the HOA itself for actions detrimental to community harmony and reputation, Agnes Periwinkle resigned from her presidency in disgrace. Rumor had it she was considering selling her house and moving to a condo in a less problematically diverse, her words, allegedly, part of the state. Good riddance. As for Alara, she was overjoyed. With Agnes's reign of terror over, a palpable sense of relief settled over Oak Street. Neighbors who had previously been cowed by Agnes's tyranny started smiling more, chatting over fences, even organizing impromptu potlucks. Alara, no longer a target, blossomed. Her garden flourished, now boasting an impressive and entirely HOA compliant, under the new, relaxed regime, collection of 5 delightful gnomes. She often left small, beautiful pieces of her pottery or a vibrant little painting on my doorstep as a thank you, gestures that warmed my heart more than any 5-star review ever could. Officer O'Malley, true to his word, formally charged Agnes with vandalism and destruction of property. The judge, a no-nonsense woman who apparently had her own past run-ins with overzealous HOA boards, saw Agnes's history of petty complaints and the clear vulnerability of her deaf victim. Agnes was sentenced to a hefty fine, mandatory anger management classes, which I would have paid good money to attend as an observer, and 200 hours of community service, specifically cleaning up litter along the county highways. Perhaps she could use her keen eye for aesthetic disharmony for good for once. Months later, our neighborhood threw its first annual Oak Street Harmony Day block party, an idea championed by the new, delightfully chill HOA president, Mr. Henderson, who had found his courage and was now a local hero. Alara was there, beaming, communicating animatedly with a group of neighbors using a mix of her expressive ASL, gestures, and a small, colorful whiteboard her son had given her. She was teaching some of the kids a few basic signs, and their delighted laughter filled the air. I was manning the barbecue with Big Tony, flipping burgers and trying not to set my eyebrows on fire. Across the park, near the sad-looking remnants of what used to be Agnes's prize-winning petunia bed, now a communal herb garden, I saw her. Agnes Periwinkle. She was walking Serenity, the yappy poodle looking as disgruntled as its owner. She looked smaller somehow, deflated. She spotted me, flinched visibly, and then abruptly changed direction, practically dragging Serenity behind a large oak tree to avoid any possibility of eye contact. Big Tony nudged me with his elbow, a huge grin splitting his face. Well, 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 if it isn't our favorite former customer, the Duchess of Deflated Tires herself. Looks like she learned a little something about karma, eh, boss? I took a sip of my lemonade, watching Alara share a silent, beautiful laugh with Mrs. Henderson. Yeah, Tony, I said, a wide, satisfied smile spreading across my own face. Sometimes karma drives a big, shiny tow truck, and sometimes, I added, thinking of that gloriously itemized bill, it meticulously itemizes the receipt down to the very last lug nut, with all applicable surcharges included. Owning the town towing company definitely had its moments. Not just the genuine satisfaction of helping good folks out of a tight spot, but the occasional, glorious, once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity to ensure that what goes around comes around, preferably on a flatbed with a police escort for the perpetrator and a soundtrack of particularly enthusiastic polka. And sometimes, I thought, as the scent of barbecue and the sound of happy neighbors filled the air, that's the best kind of community service there is.